Hi, you've tuned in to Radio Northern Beaches, your Listen Local station, right here on the Northern Beaches of Sydney. You can find us on your radio dial at 88.7 and 90.3 FM. Can't get to a radio? No worries. You can always stream our program live from anywhere in the world at rnb.org.au. And for listening on your own schedule, our podcasts are available globally at rnbpodcast.com.au. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Now, here is our latest podcast. A special thank you to John Vaughan for his information on the Papua New Guinea flag. All right, John, we're talking about the Papua New Guinea flag today.
Yes, indeed. It was designed, I'll describe the flag first. The Papua New Guinea flag was designed in preparation for independence from Australia. They were a territory of Australia in the days of the Kokoda Track and all that. They were actually a territory run by the administration from Australia and sharing a bit like British India and all this sort of thing. Anyway, to cut a long story short, in 1971, there was a message got around to the various schools saying, well, independence is coming up in 1975 and the government-to-be is looking for a national flag. What should be the national flag of Papua New Guinea? Anyway, they had close ties with Australia, of course, and very friendly ties. So the Southern Cross was sort of, appropriate. And if you look at Papua New Guinea, and I've been up there for some time, I was up there in the 70s, you can see the beautiful stars at night, particularly up in the highlands, and they're as bright as
It's very clear, isn't it? It's incredibly
lovely.
Clear.
Lovely indeed. So the Southern Cross was one of the thoughts. And then, of course, what do you think is another symbol of Papua New Guinea that's above politics? It's beautiful. It can be actually made into a device to put onto a flag. And they came up with this wonderful bird, the bird of paradise.
Yes.
And of course, the bird of paradise, the feathers were often used for the chief and the whatever else of the clans and the like. So it had a special status. And such a beautiful bird, a mysterious bird, and known to all Papua New Guineans. So this young lady, we'll call her Susan, because that was her first name that she used. She was going to school and her sister suggested, why don't you put in an entry? And so she did. And one entry had gone in and was being considered, and it was in three colours, white in the centre with a blue panel at the front of the flag, that's near the flagpole, and a blue panel in the fly of the flag, like a French tricolour type arrangement. And they had a Southern Cross in the blue against the blue sky, and then the white in the middle, and on the fly there was a bird of paradise. But she had suggested these devices, but she said, look, those colours are not really Papua New Guinea colours. And she went for red and black with a gold bird of paradise and a white Southern Cross. So the flag is almost square in ratio, and you've got like two triangles joined together. A diagonal goes from the top of the hoist of the flag, that's up the top of the flagpole, down to the fly, the bottom flapping end of the flag. And so you have these colour combinations with the black in the bottom with the Southern Cross, and then in the fly, the flapping end, you've got this gold bird of paradise. Anyway, Susan, her design was accepted. She was eventually notified that she had come up with a winning design, and in the process, she was promised that one day, she would have a special funeral when she passed away. And the saddest thing happened, when she did pass away at the age of, I think it was 61 from memory, she never had her wish fulfilled. The promise that had been made was never kept.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it is sad, and even though she's written up in all the books and Wikipedia and whatever else as the designer of the flag and appreciated for that, she didn't get that final honour, so maybe one day there'll be special markers or something put on the grave. But she's got a lot of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren and whatever else, but no special grave.
So to my listeners and my friends in Papua New Guinea, maybe you can take that up and have a look at what can be done about it, because as we know, when Papua New Guinea make promises, they keep them. So even if it's a long way down the track, let's see if we can do something about it.
Well, when I was up in Papua New Guinea, I went up to Sialem on the north coast. And just a little aside, we came in a Britten Norman Islander, a light aircraft, and I was in the co-pilot's seat, not flying it, by the way, just sitting there. And suddenly it started to rain. And anyway, instead of going against the rain, as I thought the pilot might, he came in with the rain. And we came to the edge of this great precipice because it was a very steep series of plateaus going up the mountain.
Which airport was it?
Sialem.
Sialem. I haven't been to that one.
It's so small. You never know you were there. And it was just blady grass that grew up to about 8 feet or 2.4 metres in height. And so they'd hacked away a bit of the blady grass. And I noticed there was another plane on the landing strip. And just as we came in, they moved this plane. And when we got down...
I'm glad to hear that.
When we got down, the pilot said, "I didn't see it."
My gosh.
Oh. It had crash landed a week before and bent its wing.
And it was in the way.
My
gosh.
And you know what they did? They dug it out of the bog and put it aside and took off with a bent wing.
Only in Papua New Guinea.
Yes, there was a short lifespan for pilots, and I was very glad to leave there in that sense. But the place is beautiful. We came across heaps and heaps of mortar bombs. They were very rusty, and my patrol officer friend said, "Look, you can volunteer for this, or you don't. It's up to you. But we've got a tinny down there. We're going to put it in this tinny boat, and we'll load it up with all these unused, unexploded mortar bombs."
Oh, my gosh.
And so we very gently put them in the bow of the boat, and we slowly went out to sea.
Very slowly.
One by one, hand holding them, putting them into the water.
Oh, how dangerous.
Down they went. We could have disappeared. We could have just gone boom.
Boom, yeah.
And there would be no trace whatsoever. But I remember too, I did walks while my friend was running the outpost there, and he had local policemen, and they were always trim and neat. Sometimes some of the little epaulets were upside down, but people couldn't read, so all those things. But Paul said, "Look, you can walk around wherever you like, but don't go north." And I said, "Wow, Paul, today I walked north before you told me," and I met several people in the bush, 8 foot, blady grass. And I said, "Oh, they were very friendly." Well, he said, "You were very lucky." So there'd been some tsunami in 1902, I think it was, and they'd been washed off their little island off the coast, and they'd come ashore, and then they'd use someone else's land without permission. So so you've got to know the rules, and I was very foolish, but I was very young at the time. I also went to a place called Goosap Downs, where there was a huge cattle farm. And we had all this metal landing material from the Second World War, and they made fences out of it. And I remember being in the stockyard, and the mud was sort of up to your knees in some places, so you had to be very careful where you walked, and it was full of other things from the cattle. So anyway, I went riding one day, and the horse got lost, and we're in this swamp. And
that can be very dangerous.
Well, I was almost getting my head knocked off with the overgrown vines and whatever. So I went down like a jockey, and luckily this horse found its way home.
The horse knew its way home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't go riding again after that.
I would suggest that was a good idea. Okay, so we have our Papua New Guinea flag now, and it's flown on Independence Days, and they're very proud of being independent.
Indeed. In fact, I took up a small flag with me. It was about 1.5 metres long, and it was made by my tutor in flags, Len Forsyth, a Sea Cadet commander from Snapper Island in Sydney, and he was the ultimate vexillographer. Anyway, be that as it may, I took this flag with me, and I went to the House of Assembly, the old House of Assembly, and I said, "Look, is there any chance we could hoist it up the flagpole to say that it's flown in Papua New Guinea?" and the Speaker of the House actually signed the headband of the flag, and we hoisted it and let it fly for a little while, and then I brought it back home. So
you have it in your possession?
I have it in my possession, and that one I've got a very extensive collection of flags. They'll all end up one day at the Powerhouse Museum, and they'll be photographed and they'll be put online, and the original flags will be kept. So there's quite a collection, thousands of flags.
And that's a safe place to have them because they will cherish them.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So they've already got quite an extensive collection, but they're going to have a lot more eventually. Yes.
Well, thank you, John, for telling us about the Papua New Guinea flag.
And it's a fabulous flag, and fabulous people up there, so friendly. I'd love to go back to Papua New Guinea again.
I adore Papua New Guinea. I spent quite a lot of time in Enga over quite a few years backwards and forwards. Barrick Gold sponsored me to take educational materials and medical materials over because, as you know, Enga is an extremely remote area. It was very settled when I was over there for those years because we took over something for everybody. But since then, unfortunately, the guns have taken over. There are people being murdered and the place is being just ransacked and nobody is doing anything about it. So I am really worried about what's happening over there at the moment.
Well, look, maybe something like putting a proper grave marker over Susan's grave, the designer of the Papua New Guinea flag, might tend to bring people together a little bit and enthuse people for peace and harmony and goodwill.
And unite. All right. Thank you, John. Wonderful to have you. I spent several years in Porgera in the province of Enga, on and off sponsored by Barrick Gold, distributing educational and medical supplies, and made many friends. They told me although they loved their independence, they felt it was given too soon, as law and order and the regional areas were not ready for it. They felt the regional areas had been neglected since independence. One of the reasons I was there. We hear about the war in Ukraine and Israel, yet we hear little on our closest neighbour. I saw one article on one death in Warbag, whilst hundreds were being killed in Porgera further up the mountain and in the surrounding areas, and no one said a word about it. Locals were driven from their homes and murdered or fled. Their homes and infrastructures were razed to the ground by fire. My friends in Porgera were keeping me informed daily of the slaughter and the destruction, and I was at my wits' end. So I contacted Dr. Sophie Scamps, MP, who put me in contact with DFAT, that's the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and she kindly took messages to Penny Wong, Minister for Foreign Affairs for Australia, on my behalf when government was sitting. I spoke to a gentleman in DFAT who didn't follow up the contacts given, and no one else has bothered to speak to me about PNG. Australia did send aid, but unfortunately no one made contact with the people I gave them details for, and so the aid and food went to the warlords and the criminals carrying out the atrocities. The people got nothing. And so to date, the locals are displaced or living in fear in the bush. The people of this area helped defend Australia during World War II. And one friend I made is a descendant of a Fuzzy Wuzzy angel, and yet no help is there for them when they need it most. They helped save Australia. There was even during the war a PNG regiment, yet our country continues to let the people of Papua New Guinea down. Money can't fix this anymore. The PNG national government separated Porgera district electorate in 2022 without national funding for the new electorate. The elected national member for Porgera passed after the 2022 national election, and Porgera district has been without an elected member to secure funding for essential district services, and therefore law and order has broken down even further, and crime and violence is out of control. The Porgera mine, due to open and being the main source of income for the locals in that area, was raided, and the resettlement of the locals still has not been sorted by the PNG government. Guns are being transported over the border into Enga, adding to tribal warfare, and rough estimates now say at least 10 to 15,000 people have been killed or displaced. That's a ridiculously large number of people. The hospital is not functioning, education is all but collapsed, and the cries of the people of Enga go unheard. There are growing calls for the Prime Minister James Marape to resign. However, he is so far refusing to do so. Now, spending all that time in the region, I came to know that the PNG government just found Enga too hard and became reactive, only sending police troops in when things got hard around the gold mine, and then they would disappear again, leaving only a small force to deal with the disorder. The police force in place while I was there did their best, but were not provided adequate police vehicles, petrol or equipment. I arranged to paint the police station whilst there in an attempt to raise the spirits of the police and presented them with a digital camera so they could collect evidence. Only small gestures, but so very much appreciated by the small police force. Now, because of the guns, to sort out this province, we'll need an army. A police force, even an Australian one, are not equipped for what is to be faced in this province now. The warlords and criminals have become experienced in bush warfare. The only solution I can see now is to form an army cadet program and build a PNG army. If these young people are so fond of using these guns, teach them the ethics that go with the gun and how to protect their country. The people of Porgera, Enga, Papua New Guinea, are the forgotten and abandoned. The money Australia sends doesn't reach the regional areas. The current police force don't have the numbers needed or the experience needed when sent out to the trouble and are forced to withdraw in the face of an impossible task. I understand a new security agreement has been signed with PNG and Australia. This is going to be of no use until law and order is restored not only in Enga but the whole of PNG. God help them, because no one else is. When I was in PNG, the humanitarian organisations were quick to condemn Barrick Gold, what they called human rights violations. I was there, that was not happening, and even when I told them that, they told me to butt out. But the Barrick Gold mine authorities were doing their best to help the people and stop the illegal miners from being killed in the tailing pits. So where are these humanitarian groups now? They are silent, nowhere to be seen. It is an absolute disgrace. Shame on you all. To the people of PNG, I say it is time to raise your voices both here in Australia and those in PNG. Call for justice. Call for humanitarian rights. Write your protest. Go to www.rnb.org. Go to the feedback form, fill in your name and contact details, and tell your story. I will give as many stories as I can over the radio and send them to the Australian politicians. It's time for you to help me make your voices loud. Long helping me. Long me kem neck belong you air kem map strong. Since I recorded that program, little has changed. There is an attempt to have an election, and the ballot boxes are being stolen. People are still being killed in the area, and there is still turmoil. There is still not enough police, and the province is still having problems. And on top of that, now one of their bridges has collapsed. The main bridge heading up the mountain to many, many villages is in the water. There was a call out recently from one of, I presume, the Malataka people. It read, "Oh my Malataka people, the iron bridge is sinking, so you put Japanese wire and ropes to fix it, eh? That's a national highway." Whoever is responsible for rebuilding, whether it be Barrick Gold or the government, keep building this bridge over the river, but the problem is they keep building it down over the river instead of putting it across the top of the mountain where it can't get washed away every time there's major floods. So the people are walking again miles and miles to anywhere to get help for anything. And on top of that, again, the hospitals aren't functioning, etc. There's no health system. They are in dire straits. So I don't know. I'm frustrated. I have been screaming at the Australian government. I have been screaming out loud to try and get some attention for this area, and nobody is taking notice. I tried to contact the ABC to tell them I'd been there and I had current information on what was going on. I have people on the ground that can tell them what's going on, and still nobody has contacted me. So I don't know what to do from here. If you do know, please help. If you would like to listen to the complete program with PNG music and information, please switch over to mixcloud.com/ChrissyMac123 and you'll find the full program there.
Australia, the lucky country. We've got meat pies. We've got the world's best beer. But most importantly, top of the list, we've got Radio Northern Beaches 88.7, 90.3. Now hitting the entire world on www.rmb.org.au.